I got something in the mail from CampSnap. So it looks like it might be just the same body, but they said it's new, so. CampSnap version 103, the new camera. It's, the same kind of, but in this video, I'm gonna talk about all the improvements that they've added, the issues I've had, and what a perfect version of this type of budget camera would look like for me. All right. But wait. First, before I can talk about this camera, I have to go over disclosures. First, I wanna say, CampSnap sent me this camera for free. And from what I can tell, they don't want it back, so consider that a $70 value. Another important thing is I have an affiliate link with them, so if you buy a camera through the link in my description and use my code, I do get money. So that being said, if I can convince you to buy a camera, it will give me money. So please just keep that in mind. I will be coming at this as non-biased as possible, but when there is money exchanging hands, it's impossible for somebody to be perfectly unbiased. So that's why I'm disclosing to you all the information about what I get from this so that you can at least have that in your head. Okay, now that that's over, let's rapid fire through some of these new features. First off, we've got little lanyard bits. That's so nice. These little loops are a tiny addition, but honestly, they make a big difference, and it's nice to have something to attach something to. Faster photo capture. They've improved the chip inside the camera so that the time between clicking the shutter button and the camera actually taking the photo is drastically shortened. It might be the most substantial improvement on this camera for this version. Better image quality, they claim. I guess it's not a drastic improvement. They say specifically in low light it's better, and in general. I haven't noticed a huge difference, but that gets me thinking, is better a good thing at all? I don't know. Image quality is very subjective because technically, on paper, it could have more pixels or dynamic range or whatever. But in my first review, one of the reasons I liked this camera is the photo quality was so shitty, it looked good. It had that vintage aesthetic. Hold up, while I was researching, I saw on a Reddit thread that the owner posted this. Here's the TLDR. The new chips that they were using to make the cameras faster and have less delay when you hit the shutter, they actually can't get enough of those anymore. So basically, they're having to settle for a chip that is still faster than the 101 version, but not as fast as the actual 103 version. And they're calling the new camera 103B. I think all of this is fine. However, it's not, in my opinion, clearly disclosed enough on the website. When you go to the website on the homepage, you do get a disclosure, but it's only for a high demand and that stock is limited, that they only have a few colors and they're manufacturing as fast as they can. Sure, that's fine, that's good to put, but when you hit shop at the top, it says improved 103 cameras, improved version. Orders placed before noon will ship same day. They're talking about how much they have left. But then you see each of the cameras, the only ones they have listed to buy say 103B. That's what they're calling the cameras that have the worse, not worse sensor, so the image quality is technically the same, at least for what he said, but worse chip. So that quicker delay from shutter is actually not fully existent in these cameras. It's like a half upgrade. Other than not clearly disclosing it, that's kind of fine. But where you run into the problem is like people like me. They sent me a 103 version camera with the better chip. So my video about it is going to be mentioning the better chip. When you see me hit the shutter, it's going to actually take a picture quicker than the cameras that you would order right now on the website. Now, supply chain stuff, it happens, and I totally understand, it makes sense, but I just don't want anyone to watch my video, buy the camera, and then be disappointed because it genuinely doesn't perform as good. I'd love to test to see if this is significantly worse or not, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. Just be aware that the 103B cameras that they're currently selling don't have the fully improved chip. They do say it's faster than the original, but again, not as fast as this new one. I wish it was more clear. So back to whatever I was yapping about. I just needed to make that clear. CampSnap, I think you could do better on disclosing that, but yeah. All right. So like I said, if a camera is taking photos in the style of they're so bad, they're charming, at what point when you keep upgrading it, does the charm run out? If CampSnap keeps moving in the direction of just upgrading the stats, at some point that's gonna bite them in the butt and they're gonna lose the main vision of that disposable camera. Now this kind of begs the question on like what would be the ideal, or at least my ideal, version of this camera in this price range. You're definitely pretty limited because of how cheap these are and how cheap they must be to manufacture just so that the company can make a profit. Here's the things I would keep. The body size. Small enough to be pocketable, but it feels substantial enough to actually be able to hold and use like a camera. Keeping it plastic, well, frankly, plastic is decently durable, and at this price range, I don't think you're gonna be able to get any other material. The lens, I would 100% keep the lens. This is a huge part of the look. It's like a disposable camera lens. I believe it's plastic, and it has that super high aperture, everything's in focus look. That's what you want for this style. The media and the USB-C port are perfect. I love that it's an internal battery. I can just charge it with USB-C. It's great for transferring as well. And then I really like that the media you can take out. You can replace it. You can put a bigger card in there. Micro SD. It's, you know, it's not full SD, but it is decently cheap. And again, that's keeping the price of the camera down. Now for things I would change about this camera if I could. The shutter sounds and the speaker itself they're not my favorite. I understand that you need some sort of sound to let you know that you actually took a picture, but I would say maybe just play with those sounds to be slightly less odd. The original shutter sound was much worse than this new sound. It sounds, here, let me turn it on. It's kind of just a click, but it's a little abrasive. I might play with the speaker and see what works best for this specific speaker because you're so limited by the price of the speaker. Speaking of the shutter button, that's one of the most important ways and the cheapest ways to make a camera feel premium is how your finger clicks and the substantialness of that click. If you were able to change just the material on the shutter to some sort of metal or something like that and really make that click feel more substantial, the value of this product would go up through the roof because just that's what you're touching, that's what you're using every time you use the camera. And then of course the flash. I would pay more for a better flash on this camera. I would up the price because these little LEDs just don't do enough. And a huge part of the disposable camera look is that bright flash in nighttime. So upgrading that would really bring this camera to a new level. And last but not least, I would put frame lines in this viewfinder. I am not a fan of guessing my framing, and you do that most of the time when you use this viewfinder. I can't imagine adding accurate frame lines to the viewfinder would be that expensive. So for this camera, can I recommend it? This one, yeah, but I don't know what you would be getting if you were ordering this camera because again, they switched out that chip. It is now the B chip. I don't know how good it is. As far as the version 103 versus the version 101, the one I've used before, I mean, you've been seeing some of the photos. I've been putting them throughout this video. I like it. I think the quality upgrade is good, but not too much to ruin the camera. I think the quicker shutter really does improve the usability of this camera. Something I haven't mentioned yet is they do have volume control for the speaker, and that is very helpful. But depending on when you're watching this, I might wait to see if they reintroduce the better chip into the camera, if they fix their supply chain issues. Because right now, again, they're using a different chip that I've never seen, I've never reviewed. But for the first 103 version, the one I've been using, the one I've been talking about and showing to you guys, I would recommend it. I would also refer you to my first review of the CampSnap camera. Everything I said in that other than the updates that have been applied to this camera still holds for me. And the people that would really benefit from this camera are people who don't want to use their cell phone for taking quick, fun pictures, and people who like the retro, shitty photo aesthetic. If that's you, take a look, but again, do your research, and please, maybe just hold off on buying it until CampSnap can figure out their supply chain issue. I think it's a really fun camera, and it is a really decent price for what it is. It is hot. It is so hot out here, and I'm gonna go. So subscribe or whatever. If you're gonna buy one, use my code, and buy forever. Have a good one. I'm still on mic, so you can hear me really good. But now I gotta hike down this hill to turn off the camera. Man, I put so much physical activity in a video where it's over 100 degrees.